So welcome everyone to Zoom Palestine. Welcome to Steve, and I'm not sure. Oh, and Noha is here. Great, Noha. And somebody else is here from, looks like a New York number. So, and then Facebook people on my little cell phone here, Facebook people will be coming. So we are very grateful for you to come and join in and giving support to Palestine. And the poet Yahya, who is going to be reading today, is from Gaza. And I told him, I have over 600, almost 700 people on this mailing list, and he was shocked. He said, "How do you get that many people?" I said, "There's a lot of people in America who care about what's going on in Palestine." And I think that really cheered him up. He just left the University of Iowa writing workshop, which is one of the best places for writers. He was given a scholarship or whatever to go to University of Iowa, and now he's on his way back to Gaza, but he can't get into Gaza without staying for like 14 days in Amman, where Israel, checks him over and makes sure that they're going to let him back into Gaza. It's a crazy situation. So he's was going to stay with me, but now he's staying with another friend. Anyhow, but this has been a really interesting week, and let's go over some of the developments this week as we welcome everybody, and we're going to look. As we do, one of my favorite sites is the Electronic Intifada to get news on what's going on. So we're going to check over the current events. We know they had the election in Israel last week, and Netanyahu and the far right won, and Gaza. They actually had a memorial for Meir Kahane that he went to. It's really, really unbelievable. And I think, Jews in this country who were kind of on the fence about what's going on in Israel, I think this, unless they belong to the, far right faction, that this was really very upsetting, revelatory. To those of us who know Israel and have been traveling back and forth, we know, what's been going on there. And so the fact that Netanyahu got back in is not a surprise, did not surprise me. And the fact that the far right got so much power was not a surprise, because I've been watching this. And I think for Palestinians also, a lot of Palestinians feel, this election is not going to make a big difference, because the far right has been creeping in power for several years and has caused a lot of problem, particularly the settlers. So for Palestinians, they're just going to shrug their shoulders and say more of the same. So let's have a look and see what stories Electronic Intifada is picking up. The first, an article here about first the drones and the bombs, and that there was last week another 3 a.m. attack on the Gaza Strip last week that terrified people in the Magazi camp. Totally ignored in the media. I didn't see anything about it in the media, and it was a terrifying event for Palestinians. So this was published November 10th, and the guy who writes the article talks about it was a weekend, and how people look forward to the weekend in all countries of the world, and that he and his sister visit us every weekend in their family home in the Magazi camp in central Gaza. But last weekend he wished they hadn't, because around 10 o'clock at night, while they're sitting around the living room talking, they saw Israeli drones flying very low and loud. And though drones are a cursed part of every Palestinian's life in Gaza, he's never gotten used to them. The buzzing makes it difficult to study and work, and he has to sleep with a fan on in winter to block out the noise. But more than an annoyance, though, the drones are a threat, because they're a reminder that the occupation is always watching, ready to kill at any time. and then all of a sudden they stopped and headed off to bed, and then all of a sudden, they were 3 o'clock. They wake up to the sound of huge explosions. They thought of their baby, Yahya, which is the name of our poet today. And the electricity went out, and people reached for the phones, and he was covered in glass, shattered glass from the window above. 2 more explosions, and he could hear gas and dirt falling, and he made his way upstairs to his sister and his nephew's room, the baby, and he saw the baby screaming in terror. And they went to the so-called safe area of the house, which is not really safe, it's just a hallway. Everybody was in shock, and about an hour later, things calmed down. The next day, they went to the mosque for prayers, and their street was unrecognizable, covered with mud, bricks, and rocks that had traveled. So it was just an attack during the night, and people. It's been a week since the attack. There's been no deaths reported, but there's been also no reporting of the attack. And there's plenty of damage that they have to pick up. So this is, one of the tactics that the Israelis use is just to terrorize people. These attacks are really more psychological, and then actually creating that much damage is just to terrorize them. And this is what they do with the spray the skunk water on people or the tear gas for no reason. It's just to keep people under control. Then there's article on Oslo is long dead, time to revive the PLO. And they say the Palestinian Authority is an obstacle to Palestinian liberation. And this is a very important article because it's covering the reality, the fact that the Palestinian Authority has lost authority, that the new groups are forming, one of which is the Lion's Den that Farid's poem is about the attack in Nablus and the growth of these young groups. We talked about them last week, that they are not affiliated with Hamas, Hezbollah, the PA, PLO. They're unaffiliated groups, young people who are fed up with both the Israeli occupation and with the Palestinian government and the older generation of Palestinians who they feel have divided themselves, and so they're not effective. So these young people have formed groups and particularly been effective in Nablus, in leading resistance, and they call themselves the Lion's Den. So something to watch. Other articles they talked about was the burden of Western liberals imposed only on Palestinians, which is again addressing the huge hypocrisy of the West, and particularly in regard to Ukraine, censoring Russia and not saying anything about Israel, who's been doing the same thing to Palestinians. And still, there's the British Palestinians are still condemning the sacking of a student union president. There's a big problem in the UK with people now openly attacking pro-Palestinian groups. So I invite all of you to check out the electronic Intifada. They send emails every day, and it's a good way to keep up with the latest. Now, the other topic that I just want to talk about briefly before we start our poetry, waiting for Kelvin. I wonder if he remembered the time. Noha, you have your phone. Maybe you can call Kelvin and see if you can remind him that he should be here. I know he gets the time confused. So I can't use my phone because I'm already using it for Facebook Live. But anyhow, we'll start without him. But this week, last week Israel had their election with the success of the far right and the lunatics, but America had its election this week, and it seems that the far right and the lunatics did not win. And to everybody's surprise, Americans there's enough sane Americans left, which was very good news for many of us who had kind of given up hope. I was getting ready to leave the country. The really most of the really crazies were voted out. But guess who is paying a lot of money to get them elected? AIPAC. Israel. Israel put big bucks into Lee Zeldin's campaign, the Republican running for governor, funded Ronald Lauder, gave him $11 million to the campaign. But Lauder didn't win. Now Lauder is, the inherited his mother's cosmetic line, Estee Lauder, and he's a gazillionaire. And he's a big supporter of the settlements. He's a big art collector, so he has a lot of influence in New York. He's donated, museums and art and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people, cozy up to him, but he's a big supporter of the far right in Israel, the settlements, he's puts big money on candidates who are going to back Israel, no matter what. So, but the unusual thing was that despite $11 million he lost, and AIPAC put in even more, here's the article that we should look at by Truth Out. AIPAC had a banner year in election meddling, and we should all be concerned. So this is the article, and we're going to just read it through quickly because there's a lot of information in here. Here's Nancy Pelosi speaking at the annual AIPAC conference in March, because we know that if any politician wants to be elected in this country, he has to bow to AIPAC and support Israel. No matter what Israel does, Israel will never get censored. So that's how the AIPAC has our politicians over a barrel. This was written just before the election, but it still has good stuff in it. With the general election around the corner, it's a good time to look back at lessons learned from the 2022 primaries cycle. For progressives, the results were a mixed bag. Many incumbent progressives successfully defended their seats and will cruise through the general elections. Congress will even welcome a few new left-leaning representatives in January. In other respects, though, the outlook for progressives is not so rosy. More than a few candidates amassed considerable financial resources and people power, only to see uninspiring incumbents squeak through to the general election. Winner like Rose in Staten Island. Win or lose, a common thread ran through any primary pitting a progressive candidate against a more establishment-friendly one. 2022 was the year of the outside spending earthquake in Democratic primaries. The signs that 2022 would be a better year for outside spending in Democratic primaries began early this year in May. Observers watched, stunned, as a hitherto mostly unknown player, the Democratic Majority for Israel, DMFI, spent over $3 million to defeat Nina Turner in a special election for Ohio's 11th congressional district. The same group spent $1.4 million in 2020 to defeat Bernie Sanders in his quest for the presidential nomination. Duh. Turner lost the election by more than 30 points, with the Democratic Majority for Israel contributing nearly half of all outside spending. Now, many of us never heard of the Democratic Majority for Israel, and that's probably how they want to keep it, so that's why we're talking about it. Thus began a new grim era for outside spending against progressive candidates. As 2022 dawned, the Democratic Majority for Israel was joined by another behemoth player in the primary spending wars, AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, had not, despite its name, previously established PACs or political action committees. that it used for electioneering purposes. AIPAC's mode of exerting influence to that point had been via large donations to members of Congress in both parties and forcible lobbying effort, largely confined to the halls of Congress. However, reportedly worried about its waning influence, at the beginning of 2022, AIPAC launched a PAC called United Democracy Project, which quickly built a war chest of almost $30 million. Throughout this year, United Democracy Project and the Democratic Majority for Israel have often moved in concert in their spending on federal elections. This is no surprise. The two groups share donors, advisors, and PAC staff. In January 2022, the Democratic Majority for Israel released a list of its support targets for the year and quickly began pouring large sums of money into outside spending efforts in those districts. In North Carolina, for example, the Democratic Majority for Israel spent over $290,000 to support Valerie Fouché in a crowded primary race that included progressive Nida Alam, a Muslim woman with a record of Palestinian rights activism. Many progressive organizations championed Alam, who received the backing of Bernie Sanders. The Sunrise Movement, Our Revolution, and others, United Democracy Project, added $2.1 million to the outside spending on Fouché's behalf in that race. And Alam lost to Fouché by 9 points, coming in second in the field overall. This pattern continued in races around the country where progressive faced off with establishment-friendly candidates whose Israel-Palestine policies aligned with AIPAC's. Voters in those districts could be forgiven for not understanding that the candidates they saw promised or demonized in ads and mailers were boosted for their strict adherence to a very particular piece of foreign policy. If you saw an attack ad commissioned by these groups, you would have heard about rising crime in Detroit, underfunded schools in North Carolina, insufficiently loyal Democrats in Pennsylvania and Ohio, but nothing about U.S. foreign policy in Israel. The goal was not to sway public opinion on Israel, but to install a group of Congress members who would reliably cast pro-Israel votes, no matter what Israel does. By the end of 2022 primary seasons, candidates supported by AIPAC had won 77% of the time, a win rate that most electoral support organizations can only dream about. And the win rate only tells half the story. In other races, candidates running on otherwise progressive platforms made significant changes to their stance on Israel-Palestine in apparent attempts to avoid becoming the target of AIPAC and the Democratic Majority for Israel spending binges. This silencing effect could ultimately be the goal of all this outsized spending. By making any level of support for Palestine a major liability in election season, AIPAC and the Democratic Majority for Israel may succeed in blunting the rising tide of pro-Palestinian sympathy within the Democratic Party among members of Congress. More pernicious is the way that AIPAC and its affiliates have leveraged donor enthusiasm for pro-Israel foreign policy to build a clearinghouse for anti-progressive policy. An animated and organized base of single-issue donors, AIPAC and Democratic Majority for Israel have been given virtually unlimited funds to spend carte blanche against progressive candidates as they see fit. Donors are drawn in by the organizers' promises to combat candidates with the wrong line on Israel-American relations. But in the process, they also fund the defeat of the candidates who are the strongest supporters of single-payer health care, climate action, and anti-corporate political reforms. Each time AIPAC and Democratic Majority for Israel make an independent expenditure, they gain critically important information detailing exactly how much spending is required to combat the resources that progressives and supporting groups are. Working Family Party's National Campaign Director said that they were only outspent 2-1, but lost in races where the amount of spending was 6 times more what progressive groups were able to survive. So So they went on a big campaign to make sure that the conservative candidates like Lee Zeldin, a lot of them were pro-Trump candidates, were would lose. However, the results were not that great, and this is going to take a lot of interesting study. And here's a picture of the self-appointed gatekeepers of AIPAC trying to bring that down. Even American Jewish Zionists, whom they deem insufficiently pro-Israel. So it's Jew versus Jew. AIPAC versus J Street, the key midterm wins and losses for pro-Israel groups. So this is a good article from Haaretz, and we'll listen to it for a minute.
Largest pro-Israel organizations may have backed rival candidates in the midterm elections, but the outcome is the same. Israel Alliance. Washington. The 2022 midterm elections campaign cycle has seen rival pro-Israel organizations AIPAC and J Street war with each other like never before. This has largely been expedited by AIPAC's formal entry into the campaign space, creating a political action committee that formally endorsed election deniers and otherwise controversial Republicans under the guise of protecting the U.S.-Israel relationship. At the time of writing, J Street PAC has a record of 105 wins, 9 losses in 23 races that remain too close to call. More than half of the House Democratic pickups will be J Street PAC endorsees. AIPAC, meanwhile, said that more than 95% of its endorsed candidates were victorious. AIPAC's key Democratic frontliner, however, lost in her hotly contested race. Virginia Representative Elaine Luria, perhaps the most vocally pro-Israel Democrat in Congress, a key AIPAC ally, is projected to lose to Republican challenger Jennifer Kiggins. Her loss delivers a significant blow to the pro-Israel, national security-oriented wing of the Democratic Party. Meanwhile, an AIPAC source noted that it successfully supported 12 Democrats that defeated challengers endorsed either by J Street or Senator Bernie Sanders. AIPAC is particularly excited about a diverse incoming pro-Israel freshman Democratic class, including names such as Robert Menendez Jr., Don Davis, Jared Moskowitz, Robert Garcia, Valerie Fauci, and Glenn Ivey. Other AIPAC-backed Democratic incumbents running tight races also emerged victorious, such as Reps. Vicente Gonzalez and Henry Queller in Texas, Angie Craig in Minnesota, Chris Pappas in New Hampshire, and Kathy Manning in North Carolina. AIPAC further publicly played up victories from Democratic candidates it supported against anti-Israel primary opponents such as Reps. David Scott, Morgan McGarvey, Shontel Brown, Lucy McBath, and Haley Stevens. A key J Street win was Summerlee's victory in Pennsylvania, who won despite AIPAC's United Democracy Project Super PAC spending over $1 million in recent days to defeat her. The pro-Israel group involved itself after the race proved closer than anticipated, seeing a second chance to defeat her after failing to do so in the Democratic primary. The House Democratic campaign arm rallied behind Lee, and national Republicans, in turn, not only targeted Lee but attempted to connect her with neighboring Pennsylvania Democrats running competitive House races of their own. None of AIPAC's ads mentioned Israel, however, raising questions regarding its political experiment. Other significant victories for J Street include John Fetterman's victory in the Pennsylvania Senate race, Representative Andy Kim's successful re-election in New Jersey, Representative Sharice David's re-election in Kansas, and incoming Democratic Representative Seth Magaziner's victory in a hotly contested Rhode Island battle. Two other notable J Street-backed Democratic pickups include Hillary Schulten in Michigan and Nikki Baginski in Illinois. Among J Street's notable losses include 2 Senate races, where they backed Sherry Beasley's unsuccessful bid against Republican Ted Budd in North Carolina, and in Ohio, where they unsuccessfully backed Tim Ryan against J.D. Vance. Its most significant loss, perhaps, was in Nebraska. J Street-backed Democratic challenger Tony Vargas was narrowly defeated by Representative Don Bacon, whom AIPAC identified as one of its 2 key races. This Nebraska House race underscored AIPAC's political tightrope with political endorsements in competitive races. AIPAC flagged Bacon as among Israel's most ardent vocal supporters, all the more timely given his seat has been identified as a key potential Democratic flip since he was first elected and has only grown more vulnerable since alienating Trump. Bacon, who is not Jewish, provoked widespread opposition from the American Jewish establishment after co-founding the Congressional Torah Values Caucus, which was criticized as a misguided effort in the fight against anti-Semitism. His district voted for Biden in 2020, and his seat became more vulnerable in recent months thanks to his support for a nationwide abortion ban without exceptions. A key loss for both is the defeat of Representative Tom Malinowski, the vice chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and considered one of the most important foreign policy voices in the House. He is considered to be one of the more thoughtful figures in Washington on the Middle East at large and Israel-Palestine in particular. He is projected to lose to Republican challenges both good policy and good politics, AIPAC said in a statement, adding that despite the fierce partisanship of this election cycle, there remains a resolute bipartisan commitment to the U.S.-Israel alliance. For his own part, J Street President Jeremy Ben-Ami stated that J Street is deeply proud to only have supported candidates who back pro-Israel, pro-peace candidates who back democracy and diplomacy. We're proud to be a political home and a voice for the large mainstream majority of Jewish Americans who reject the ethno-nationalist extremism of the Maga Republican movement and the hawkish, harmful foreign policy promoted by the right. While we await the final outcome, it's clear that this battle is just one round in a much broader fight. In the U.S., in Israel, and around the world, those who believe in democracy, equality, and universal rights will continue to struggle against those who promote ethno-nationalism, authoritarianism, and fear. J Street and our movement remains fully committed to this work in the months ahead, in the 2024 election, and far beyond.
Okay, wow, interesting. So I think that we have to be looking at the future of how J Street is going to continue. Now, Farid is we're going to our poetry session now, and Farid is trying to get on. So I have his video, but I'm going to stop the share now and invite Noha, who's live here. Noha, are you here? Can you unmute yourself? Noha, you're muted. Noha, can you mute yourself? Okay, unmute, yeah. Okay, can you unmute yourself? Okay, can we, yeah, okay, unmute. You just muted yourself. Just unmute yourself. Oh, Steve, you have a boom. Great. Okay, yes. We'd love to hear you. All right. No, you're still muted. So let's Steve Bloom start while you get your. Make sure you turn your mic on. So Steve, can you hear us?
I can.
And we can hear you. Yes, we can. That's great.
All right. Well, I am
Wait, we have two of you.
myself.
Wait. We have two of you.
Yes.
Can you turn one off?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Usually my Zoom mic on my screen, on my computer doesn't work.
Okay.
Which is why I call on my phone.
Okay, all right,
I
okay.
didn't today, for some reason, it was working. So
Okay.
Anyway, you now just have my phone audio.
Great.
And I am...
Wait a minute, let me make sure we're recording. Oh, wait a minute.
And
Recording in
All
progress.
right, now we're recording. Okay. All right, go.
before we start, is Yahya on?
He's not able to get on, but I have his poems to read. But he's not able to get on. Yeah, he may be
Because
listening.
I heard him read in New York just before he left.
Yes, right.
And I wanted to talk to him, but I'll
yeah.
do it through you, so that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll talk later. Okay. My poem is called Smoke Signals, and it's brand new.
Okay.
Just a minute, let me get that. Okay. Smoke Signals. If I capture the grief of an olive farmer, Israeli bulldozer destroying an ancient grove, and place this beside your heart, is there any way that it might continue to beat? If I record the scream of an African mother, daughter and son carried off by slavers, and commanded to visit you in the middle of your night, can you imagine sleep offering its companionship ever again? If I show you the flash of Japanese children incinerated in a single instant 2 August days in 1945, fasten this behind your eyes. how could they dare to look upon the world from that moment? If I comprehend the anger of an Indian warrior village of smoldering teepees, of corpses and of blood, steer this vision into your memory as if we were both actually there, since we both were actually there and still are. What life force might then drive you other than the cry for vengeance? Yet still our hearts beat, we sleep, allow our eyes to see the world, or perhaps not, manage despite all of this, even to make love from time to time. Because the human spirit returns to us no matter how often and no matter how unimaginable, offering the possibility of redemption, yes, even perhaps of a people so often cursed for such imperial deeds as my own. Still, I have been told the smart money is on vengeance.
Oh, wow, Steve, that's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Wow, okay. Are you going to publish that?
I will publish it in way somebody wants. I haven't thought about it. I just finished working on it this morning. I've been polishing it.
Very good. I love it. I love it. It's really very moving. You know, you cover the whole thing. There's something special about it, you know, because you connect the dots. You know, you connect the dots, the tears, the pain. Thank you. Noha, are you with us? Can you unmute yourself and show us your face and read your poem? Noha, can you unmute? Okay, good. All right, now you're unmuted. Now can we see your face and can you read your poem? We don't hear you yet. Ah, we hear something. Are you there?
Tu fais partie de Rez?
Yes, hello.
Hein?
Hi.
Justement.
Okay, we can hear you. Noha, we can hear you. We can hear you, but you're right, we can't see you. Shuft. Miss Shuft. Yeah. We can hear you, though, so you can read your poem. You can read. Go ahead. Yalla. We can hear you. Read your poem. Noha? Noha, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Now you're muted again. We can't hear you. What's happening? Noha? Are you there? All right, well, what I'm going to do is maybe I'll read some of, I'll wait for Farid to see if he can get on, because I know he's trying to get on. And what we'll do is look at can you see my screen? Let me see, I'll do a share screen. Okay, here's the picture of Yahya here that you all can see. Very handsome young man. And so I'll let you look at his handsome face while I read some of his poems. He was at the Writers' Workshop in Iowa on a special program. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Steve, do you know the program that he was in Iowa? I know it had a special name. I don't remember what it was.
He he told us, I heard him just before he left, the evening before he left the U.S. He did a reading in New York where I attended, and he told us all about it, but I can't say that I remember.
Yeah.
It was some prestigious program.
Yeah. Well, University of Iowa has, the best writers workshop in the country, and he was able to get admitted, I guess, on a scholarship program to the University of Iowa, and there he was able. He read his, developed his stories, and his writing, and it's very beautiful. So I'm going to read his poem now. He gave me a link. He's not able to join us from Amman, but he gave me a link to his stories. So while we're looking at his handsome face, I will read his story. Let me close this a little more so we can you can see him. So I'll read his first poem. It's called the TW. It's a Iowa workshop, something in writing workshop. Okay, so here's his first poem, and it goes like this: A Gray Man from a Gray Land. That's the title. I go to the sea by myself, a gray man from a gray land. No jasmine in my pocket to gift it to the beach. I go for the cinema of the sky, for a delayed prayer, for a childhood still lost. I am looking for those who go to the sea by themselves. But there I freeze on my chair. I don't dare to walk side by side with all of those waves. There I freeze on my chair. Nothing else a gray man like me can do in front of all of this blue. Very beautiful. Here's another poem called With Them the Sea Wakes Up. And Gaza, is a sea. It's basically a city on the sea, so water and the sea figures prominently in a lot of poetry from Gaza. And here's the next poem. With them, the sea wakes up. I sit on the beach. I watch the one who sells sweet potato and the one who sells cotton candy and sugar-coated apples. The one who sells lemonade and the one who sells peanuts. The one who sells sea toys and his colorful cart. I watch the horses and camels and the children riding them. I wait for them to pass by me, for a photo at least. These people are the owners of the sea. The beach is their market. With them, the sea wakes up. And after them, the sea goes to sleep. As the sun sets, whenever I bring a seashell close to my ear, I hear their tears wrestling the waves. Another poem. We have a lot to talk about. What brought you to the beach is what brought me too, O ship of the desert. I'm like you. I can't believe what they say they see curved. I'm like you, but pity me. I have no hooves. Lay beside me, camel. We have a lot to talk about. I too don't care about the waves. White lines are all I see. Lay beside me. And the final poem. That was a short one, so we'll read two more. The sun and I get tired. It's hard work to go to the sea, looking for shadows. It's hard work to leave it, escaping the sunset. Oh, sea, every day the sun and I get tired. Yet your waves never get tired. And the last one, I won't enter the sea. I come to you from the noise and chaos. Your air is the only sound I want to hear. Your waves is the only shape I want to see. But I won't swim in you or even fly over you. I'll stay at the beach, for I fear all sorrow and all joy. The sun is enough for me. O sea, your waves are within me, incomprehensible, yet unforgettable. Suddenly I remember my despair. Dear sky, where have you been while our homes were being bombed? Dear sea, where have you been while our bodies were being charred? Wow. Beautiful. Thank you for the beautiful poetry. I'm not sure if you're listening, but I will make a video of this and send it to you. And, suddenly I realize why the Gazans have the strength they have. It's the sea. It's living next to the sea is what does it. And there's something about island people that I've noted in teaching history, that island people have the Greeks were an island people. Island people have a certain mentality that makes them extremely resilient, because people on islands are used to shifting weather. People who live near the sea are used to radical, extreme weather changes and fluctuations. And I think this gives them a kind of resilience. Plus, I love what he said, I just want to hear the air. I know for me, living next to the Hudson River, when I'm really bent out of shape, going to the river, for me, is a healing experience. So thank you, Yahya. And here's Farid. Here's Farid's poem. So I'll see if I can get it going on here. Oops, it's not working. I know he sent me the video of it. All right, let me see. Let's try here. This is Noha. All right, Noha, are you there? Can you read your poem? Noha. And Kelvin, where are you, Kelvin? All right, I'm gonna try to get Farid's poem. This is his. Hi, are you there, Noha? I see you. Can you read your poem?
Hello?
Hi, can you read your poem, Noha?
Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
You hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. But I sent
let
you
me
the
introduce Noha in case Steve. I don't know if you've met her. Noha is a distinguished writer, author, academic, researcher, publisher. She's fluent in writes in 3 languages: French, Arabic, and English. She's has a distinguished academic background, but also she's been involved in a lot of diplomatic work and international work. Plus, she's the granddaughter of the important newspaper in her grandfather and her uncle. They founded the newspaper Philistine or Palestine, which was the major newspaper in Palestine. When did they found it? Noha, when did Philistine start? What year was it?
Excuse me?
When did Philistine start? It was 1907, was it? When did Philistine, the newspaper, begin?
Can't hear what you're saying.
When did Philistine, the newspaper, begin?
Palestine,
When did it begin? What year did it begin?
1911.
1911, okay. Because she hosted a conference on the 100th year anniversary at Columbia University Research Center in Amman. And that's how I met her. It was a brilliant conference for 3 days, and it was wonderful.
11.
Yeah. Okay, Noha, do you want to read your poem and explain why you wrote the poem?
Did you see it on video?
No.
I sent it
Oh, I didn't see it.
because it's got the picture of the little boy of the video.
Where did you send it to?
I sent it on to the messenger, your messenger.
Messenger. Okay, I can look for it. Hold on a minute.
Because it's got pictures.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. No, oh yeah, you sent a video. Here it is. Okay. All right, here it is. Okay, is this it? Yeah. Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah. Okay. Can you see it? Can everybody? Let me. Can everybody see it? Maybe not. Let me share the screen. Here. Yeah. Okay. Here it is. Can everybody see it? All right. Let's. I don't know if we can hear it though. Let me see. I think the sound is off. Yeah.
Little Ryan.
Okay. Here we go. All right.
Little Ryan with the white innocent heart. Little Ryan with the white immaculate heart. Bethlehem's wandering little star. Elegant young horseman who left your home every morning, carrying your little school bag, happy to go find your school and little friends. You kissed your mother goodbye and ran through the green fields where a murderous pack of wolves was hiding behind the bushes, waiting to ambush little children. Run, little Ryan, run. Fly on your secret little winged white horse. Only 7 years old, little Ryan, and you are confronting the old wicked monsters. 7 years only, and you understand what the world of vultures does not understand. Little Ryan, with the white heart, little wandering star of Bethlehem, tell me how fear from your terror pierced your little immaculate heart. Tell me how this murderous mob killed you. Tell me, little Ryan. Did you see the soldiers when they ambushed you? Did you hear the thunder of their boots when they chased you? Little Ryan, please tell me, for I do not understand how all this hatred, all this venom was unleashed against you. Little Ryan, please carry me away with you on your little white sacred horse, with all the little angels, all the storks, and all the white doves to other skies, to a dream world of childhood, where the bad guys on seeing us will flee.
Wow.
Hello?
That's beautiful.
Little Ryan.
Thank
with
you.
The white innocent
Yeah,
heart.
now we'll see if we can.
Little Ryan with the white immaculate heart. Bethlehem's wandering
Hold on a
little
minute.
star.
Let me,
Elegant young horseman.
yeah. Okay, there we go. Hi. Hi, Noha. It's a beautiful poem. Thank you. That was really very, very beautiful. Thank you. And I like what you did with the video and the pictures. It was lovely.
Did you hear the sound?
Yes. Yes, we could hear it. Very good. So what do you plan to do with the poem?
You want me to read it again?
No. What will you do with the poem? Will you have it published?
Another with me, no. In English, I had prepared this one. I have others in French and Arabic.
Well, we don't have time now, Noha. We have to go on to Farid. But next time we'll have them. So thank you very much. Thank you. Next time. Thanks a lot. So let's see if we can get if I can find Farid's poem, which should be here. I saved it, but just because you think you save things in the world of technology, it doesn't mean it's here. So here was Farid, and I know he sent it to me. So I'm going to see if I can find it on here. And he said he couldn't get on because they said he had to update his version. Let me see if this will work. Yeah, I think this should work. Yeah, okay, I got it. All right, so now. All right, hang on, I found it. Hurrah! All right, now let's do a screen share so you all can see it. And Farid is fighting with Zoom. They won't let him into the meeting because they said he has to update his version. So I sent him the new version, but evidently that's still not pleasing him. So, but we have him here on video, and we will see him. Let me make him full screen. Okay, there we go. Okay. What? Let me go back. Oh, God damn it. I have no idea why it went away. I'm trying to move this annoying bar here, which was in the middle of everything. Okay, let's try again. If at first you don't succeed. Where is he? Here it is, okay. All right.
عرين الأسد يا لا لا يا لا لا يا لا لا حبي عليك وقالة وأنا بدور عحالة يا نابلسي يا جنيني يا قدسي فلسطين حبي بلادي بلادي يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا حبي عليك قوي قالة يا عمري يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي سنعود ستعود سأعود فلسطين ستعود يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا عريني يا عريني يا عرين الأسد أنت صامد ونحن صامدون تحياتي إلى نابلس نابلس بلد الشجعان فريد بيطار Palestinian poet. Only dedicated to Lion's Den, Arin al-Asad. يا لا لا يا لا لا يا لا لا حبي عليك وقالة وانا بدور حالة يا نابلسي يا جنيني يا قدسي فلسطين حبي بلادي بلادي يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا حبي عليك وقالة يا عمري يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي سنعود ستعود سأعود فلسطين ستعود يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا عريني يا عريني يا عرين الأسد أنت صامد ونحن صامدون تحياتي إلى نابلس نابلس بلد الشجعان فريد بيتار Palestinian poet. Only dedicated to Lion's Den, Arin al-Asad. يا لا لا يا لا لا يا لا لا حبي عليك وقالة وانا بدور حالة يا نابلسي يا جنيني يا قدسي فلسطين حبي بلادي بلادي يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا حبي عليك وقالة يا عمري يا بلادي يا بلادي يا بلادي سنعود ستعود سأعود فلسطين ستعود يا لالا يا لالا يا لالا يا عريني يا عريني يا عرين الأسد أنت صامد ونحن صامدون تحياتي إلى نابلس نابلس بلد الشجعان فريد بيتار Palestinian poet. Only dedicated to...
Okay, I think we listened to it a couple times, but it was worth listening to. It's a very beautiful poem. Well, thank you, everybody. I think that might be Kelvin trying to get on, but it's already 1 o'clock, so we'll close. Let's see, wait a minute, see if he can get on. He seems to be trying to get on. I'm sorry that Farid had his technical difficulty, and so did Kelvin, but Noah, you did it, and Steve, you did it. So congratulations. And we're going to be having a poetry reading here in Westbeth with Farid. Steve, I think you're coming to it. I'm going to be showing a film that I made about my summer working in Jordan with the refugees at the Jesuit Center from all over the world, and also working in Hebron and visiting the Arub refugee camp, the largest refugee camp in the West Bank, and also the most dangerous, where we're raising money for a soccer team to keep the kids off the street so they don't throw stones at the soldiers and end up getting shot. So I'm going to be raising funds for that. It's about $100 to sponsor one kid. So we'd like to sponsor around 30 children. I got an email from the guy, it's the director of a gym who's organizing it. And it's a very worthwhile project. He's already started and sent me a picture of the kids. but they need uniforms, and they need shin guards and other kind of soccer equipment. So my daughter, whose son plays soccer, and I'm going to go to those parents. But if you know anybody or have any ideas on how to raise some money to get some of these kids equipment, because the problem is the UN schools have cut their hours in Palestine, so that the kids get out of school now in the middle of the day around 1 o'clock, and then they have the rest of the day to get into trouble. And of course, they're surrounded by tanks and soldiers in the camp, so they get spend a lot of their time throwing stones at the tanks, at the soldiers, and then getting tear gassed and shot back, sometimes killed in reply. So it's a very volatile situation. So the director of the gym there had a very nice guy, had an idea of starting a soccer team, both for boys and girls, to start soccer classes, a soccer school, to get them off the streets and keep them out of trouble. So it's a very worthwhile project, and I'll tell you more about it. But so I'm going to be making a film about that camp and my visit to Area C, the big military area where they're trying to get rid of all the Bedouins and Palestinians who live there. So the date will be announced. I'm waiting to get a date from the community room here in West Beth, but it will be the end of November or in December, and I will let everybody know. So thank you, everybody, for being on. I've given Kelvin 10 minutes to try to get on, and he can't get on. And so I'll say goodbye to everybody. Masalama. And I think we can breathe easier in America anyway, with the election going as well as it did for progressives. And I think that article about AIPAC's losses, despite all that money they spent, is kind of hopeful. So money doesn't always buy love, even in elections. So bye, everybody. Masalama. Goodbye, Noha. Thank you. And goodbye, Steve and Farid and Kelvin and whoever else is here.